Good evening, everyone. Welcome to American Advocates. This is episode 87 coming to you live May 5th, 2026. And we've got a lot to discuss once again in the region that everyone loves talking about right now, especially Lifeguard, my moderator. This is his favorite topic to discuss. He thinks it's nothing but good news, and he can't wait to hear all of the updates on just how swell it's going for the United States military in the Persian Gulf and in the Strait of Hormuz. So this, I anticipate, will be one of Lifeguard's favorite live streams ever by far, as we have a lot of breaking news taking place in the region, starting with actually some very recent breaking news. Another cargo ship was struck in the Gulf, the Persian Gulf, not too long ago here. We're talking just a matter of hours ago. Struck by what the U.S. is deeming to be a land attack cruise missile in the Strait of Hormuz. The ship named the CGM Antonio was a French-owned cargo ship. It was just struck recently, like I said, by a land attack cruise missile. Multiple Filipino crew members on board were injured, and the ship was actually located somewhere near Dubai, I guess, is actually where it was taking place. This now makes the fourth cargo ship struck since Sunday. So we are now on Tuesday, coming to an end on Tuesday, and since Sunday, four ships have been struck in the Persian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz region now since then, not even 48 hours in. So this is major developing news right now. It seems like, at face value at least, Iran is ramping up their aggressions and hostilities in the Middle East once again, and they don't seem to be stopping, actually. So that was some major news just coming in, and the timing of this strike on the cargo ship taking place recently is also very, very intriguing, because it happened somewhere around not too long after or before, I guess. I'm not really sure. I wasn't able to pin it down, but it happened around the same time, as far as I can tell, when Trump made a major announcement on social media regarding what we covered yesterday being Operation Freedom, which of course is now being referred to as Project Freedom, but then it was changed again to Operation Freedom, and I'm not sure what to think anymore when it comes to that. Understanding, of course, why I said last night it was Operation Freedom, changed to Project Freedom to avoid wartime terminology, since the War Powers Act 60-day clause had technically expired. But today we were told, no, it's a separate operation, and a new operation therefore has a 60-day, a new restart of 60-day time limit for President Donald Trump to operate on it. So I'm not really sure what to believe on that, but essentially Trump had put out major news recently. We're going to go over that today, and everything centered around that when it comes to his latest update on Operation Freedom, Project Freedom, whatever you want to call it, and how this strike on the CGM Antonio, French-owned cargo ship taking place just a couple of hours ago, coincides with all of this. Iran ramping up their aggressions. So a lot to discuss today. Iran's statements on the matter, my analysis and breakdown of all of this, what's currently taking place, and what we should expect actually going forward. At the very end, Lifeguard, my moderator, might actually find a silver lining in my reporting today. We'll see, though. But until then, of course, be sure to like this stream right now as the viewers start to come in. Double tap those phone screens or hit the three dots right up here somewhere and hit that thumbs up button for me. Liking the stream is free to do for everybody too cheap to be able to send money via the super chat tariff option down there. And it really does help the stream perform better in YouTube's algorithm. So like the stream, you fucking cheap ass scum goyim, or swipe the fuck up right off the show and move on somewhere else to some other idiotic. Go watch your anime, go watch your cartoons, you simple-minded plebs. And thank you, Eddie, for all of the gifts. I appreciate the coin, I appreciate the floating heart, I appreciate the star, I appreciate the Mother's Day, well-wish Mother's Day gift. Thank you for that. Also, I want to start off by recognizing my two super chat tariffs that came in before I could even go live. From BeckFan77, $2 tariff to help balance out the chat deficit from all of you other swine-sucking cattle-herding goy scum who are going to leave ignoramus, idiotic, mind-numbing stupidity in my chat. BeckFan says, need to change super chat currency from tariffs to shekels. I don't know why that would be, but maybe because the shekel is actually doing very well from a global economic currency perspective. Somehow, in a time of war, Israel's inflation drops under 2%. They they close out one of their annual budget years in green rather than in the red just recently, and their shekel is gaining on the American dollar and performing better than it has in the last 30 years. However, could that be happening? But you might be onto something there, Beck fan, with that. And then also a 199 super chat tariff from my own moderator, Lifeguard, who then says, that's the first time in a week I've been able to super chat here. The button came up but stopped at the double click purchase point. I guess I was in time. That's actually because I finally called Mossad last night and I said, hey, listen, you motherfuckers, everyone else in the world is fucking scared of you, but I'm here to tell you, I know you're fucking with my streams right now, and you're gonna make it so that my own moderator, who I don't pay but expect to do a lot of work throughout the day, can finally pay his tariff again. And they said, you know what, you got a point, sir. We'll allow you to make money again for now, actually. And I said, thank you so much, and I hung up the phone on their sorry fucking asses. So that took care of that, Lifeguard, and I appreciate you nonetheless. That's where we're at on that. You know, going from recently being demonetized on this channel to being remonetized again has been quite a journey. So I appreciate all of the support on that. Also, another super chat tariff from, what's his name? Is that Eddie? Message deleted. What did he say? Wait, I can't read his tariff, though, because he got... What happened? But I appreciate the 99-cent super chat tariff, Eddie. I don't know what he said, though. Oh, Lifeguard, if you could, if he's gonna super chat, if you could just let me read it before. If his chat has to be removed, then, you know, at the very least, let me be able to read it first. He did pay money for that. He was talking about you. What did he say? All right, we got to get on to the news, though. I don't even have like time for this. We got a lot to cover today, guys. A lot going on. Not only was that cargo ship struck in the Strait of Hormuz recently, but in addition to this, we are now getting interesting reporting coming in from the IRGC and from Iran, who have publicly denied that they were the ones to strike the UAE's empty oil tanker, the South Korean cargo ship, or Fujairah yesterday, which was all major news I was covering yesterday, and explaining why it was strategically a smart idea, in all honesty, for Iran to be striking those targets. I explained the escalatory fashion of all of that, how Iran first struck the vacant oil tanker sitting off the coast of the UAE, sitting 78 miles, nautical miles northeast of Fujairah. Then they escalated by striking the active South Korean cargo ship, the NMM Numa, I believe it was called, and they blew the engine room on that. It was a major deal. Once again, it's Iran demonstrating, in my opinion, I covered it back then, and I'll say it again today, Iran is demonstrating that they control the Strait of Hormuz. No matter what messaging or narrative you hear going on here, Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz, and that was on display yesterday, and it's on display again today, in fact. And Trump's latest update on Operation Freedom, which I'm going to get to in a couple minutes, kind of actually confirms that even more. And there's just so many problems going on right now in regards to all of that, but that was what took place there. And then Fujairah, of course, was struck after that. That's inland. That's an actual oil industry hit by drones successfully, creating an explosion, taking out some of the Emiratis' oil industry in catastrophic fashion, potentially. If they continue to damage it, they damage it enough, it actually severely undermines the UAE's ability to produce and sell oil, which is what, of course, they like 80% of their economy runs off of. Furthermore, I explained yesterday, and I have the video up on my channel, which you should go watch later on because I won't go into full detail, but I did explain how I believe that Iran was being smart and striking Fujairah after the Emiratis, the UAE specifically, announced that they were going to be leaving OPEC, and then as a result, not acknowledging the restrictions on their oil production, and thereby producing more oil on a daily and monthly basis, which would, of course, increase the amount of supply and lower the amount of demand, which makes oil cheaper and less profitable to sell. So I broke all of that down. I did clip that part of the segment yesterday, put it up as a regular video on this channel, which you should go watch at the end of this show. Give it a like. I'll post a link at the end, though. But that's why I thought that was taking place. But the IRGC and Iran have publicly denied that they were the ones to strike the UAE's empty oil. First, we had President Pezeshkian of Iran saying that the IRGC's attack on the UAE was madness. And then after that, we had the development of Iran, the country, publicly, along with the IRGC, saying, we didn't do it. It wasn't us. And, they'll likely deny, of course, as a result that they struck this French cargo ship as well just a couple of hours ago. And in response to all of this, the UAE has also made a statement as well. Basically, hold on a second here. Yeah. The UAE has made a statement as well, basically condemning the strikes. They're frustrated about the strikes, and they're insisting that Iran is intentionally, of course, denying the strikes were from them, calling it classic Iran strategy to avoid ramping up Western hostilities, but while also still taking petty shots at their military targets that they wanted to hit. So you really have to ask yourself, really, why would Iran deny striking these targets when they were successful hits? And beyond that, you have to delve into what the United States response was to all of this. And that's what I'm going to break down for today's episode 87 of American Advocates. Again, be sure to double tap these phone screens or hit the three dots up there and give it a thumbs up. Like the stream, it's free to do, and it helps my show perform better in YouTube's algorithm, which I am always at war with, it seems. The algorithm, it doesn't like what I've got to say. It's tried to demonetize me. They've been attacking this channel. Some of my people can't even donate super chat money. That's why you got to like the stream. And honestly, you should share it with your even dumber goy friends that you have. You're probably pretty fucking stupid if you're in the chat right now saying stupid shit. That tells me your friends are probably even dumber, which is why you've not gotten smarter in your entire life. So help make them smarter too, and share this show with idiotic friends of yours that need to hear the truth and need a proper analysis and breakdown of geopolitics. So here's what's going on here. We are currently day 66 in, and it's coming to a conclusion in under 2 hours now. 66 days in the Middle East, back in the Middle East, U.S. involvement in the Middle East. It's wonderful. It's glorious. Everyone loves this. Foreign wars are our favorite. We love this as young Americans. It's our favorite. We love watching our economy suffer so that foreign countries can benefit. 66 days, can you believe it? I can't believe it. But here we are nonetheless, and of course we have spent billions. The Iran war cost tracker indicates we've spent $72,250,350,000 as of right now, and that is a conservative estimate. I always say, of course, we're well over that $100 billion mark at this point, and it's not even close. So much truth is being suppressed. What they're asking for funding-wise is outrageous. We're continuing to deplete armaments and munitions, and I'm going to give a deep breakdown of that today as well, because that's becoming a big problem and a new constraint, time constraint, to be factored in to the Middle East operations here. Trump must acknowledge it at this point. But that cost us more money. We're supplying people like the UAE and Kuwait. How I was able to predict increased escalation before it happened, I'm not an intelligence worker. I'm not Alex Jones. I literally said it happened based off of the reading, the acknowledgement that Secretary of State Marco Rubio basically made by bypassing Congress using some authoritarian powers to supply Kuwait. I believe Bahrain was in there for some reason, even though all reports indicate Bahrain is decimated. But Kuwait, Bahrain, the UAE, these were being supplied with Patriot interceptor missiles. And I looked at that report before the escalation occurred over the weekend, and I said, expect escalation in the Middle East. Now, of course, I said it would come after we struck Iran, so I was halfway wrong, and I'll acknowledge that. But we didn't strike Iran. But either way, the escalation was obviously going to happen, and we were obviously preparing for that. And you have to understand, we sent $8.6 billion in just that instance alone the past couple of days to once again provide beefed up defense for all of these friendly nations in the Middle East of ours, like the Emiratis, just to keep them from being decimated from Iran's strikes. And it did work to some degree, but not completely, of course. Fujairah was successfully hit. The South Korean oil tanker or cargo ship was successfully struck. And now this French cargo ship today, a few hours ago, was also successfully struck somewhere near Dubai. So it's not entirely working, and that is the problem. So that's where we're at on that. But, back to the main point here. Why is Iran denying these strikes? And I'm going to tell you straight up my two thought processes on this, basically being that Iran's denying the strikes, but that they're definitely striking the ship still. This seems obvious to me. And it seems like it's definitely them up front. So I'll say these are the two possible circumstances, my two possible thought processes. Iran is striking the ships, but denying the strikes publicly to play into the fog of war element. I've said this on this channel multiple times. The truth is the first casualty of war, and it's always the leaders that kill it. World leaders always are incentivized to kill the truth because it's better for people to not know exactly what's happening. We've seen this on both sides. Iran is certainly capable of lying. Trump lies. Iran lies. All of these countries, Israel lies. They're all lying. Not all the time, but always when needed. And so denying the strikes publicly to play into the fog of war, and hopefully by doing so, it allows them this little loophole, this little sweet spot where they can still take out military targets that they want to, and then they deny it. And nobody falls for it really, but if they deny it publicly, then there's just this game of chess kind of being played, but not even militarily. It's just them saying, well, we didn't do it, so you don't get to strike us back. And it's all being done it's kind of desperate almost of Iran, but it's being done to avoid future Western retaliation. Beyond this, though, the actual strikes is what I really want to look at. So perhaps that's the tactic being played here and why Iran's denying it. But let's just say they're denying it and they're lying about it and they're the ones striking the UAE, but they struck Fujairah. They struck the cargo ship a few hours ago, which I think is the most likely. Really what this is this is a pressure tactic. This is a pressure campaign being waged by Iran as, again, the tensions have now rised to a boiling point. And I would say, in all honesty, from what I'm seeing, it's a boiling point where it's about to be done. The stove is about to be turned off, in all honesty, I would say. I would hope, at least. And maybe that's really what I'm projecting here, subconscious hope that this finally comes to an soon. But it's a pressure tactic by Iran to be striking all of these ships and seemingly, despite the ceasefire, ramping up their aggression. So they're striking these stranded ships in the Strait of Hormuz and or around this region around here. Again, Fujairah is right around here, if I'm not mistaken. It's right along this coastline here, outside of where they control the Strait of Hormuz, and actually closer to where our blockade is set up, right? So that's where that was hit. But then, Dubai is somewhere off the map here. I can't show you. That's where this cargo ship was struck today. And essentially, this is the pressure campaign where these countries now, this French cargo ship struck a few hours ago. The South Korean cargo ship that was active struck, hit in the engine room, big explosion, massive fire. These countries, South Korea, France, etc., other countries now who have ships in the region that maybe haven't been hit yet, are all going to be calling President Donald Trump. This is what's going to happen. This is how the pressure campaign works. This is more diplomatic pressure. One of the constraints I've talked about since the beginning of this war that I said would work against President Donald Trump. You can sit there as an American chud and say it shouldn't matter. We don't give a shit about them, but it does matter a lot. And some of these countries I'd almost side with people on and say, yeah, fuck France, whatever. I don't like Emmanuel Macron. I think he's a pussy scumbag bitch. Germany, I'm not a big fan of either. But we have other countries that we should want to develop closer ties with. Countries like Japan, countries like South Korea, in fact. And so these countries are hurting as a result of us too. They're going to be calling Trump, pleading with him, begging him, even possibly yelling at him at this point, and applying pressure on him to come up with a solution quickly, to get this over with quickly. And that's possibly, in my opinion, and likely one of the reasons, at least, why Iran is ramping up the pressure. As we hit that boiling point, like I said, either it's full-blown war with Iran or some sort of deal is worked out. This is the critical point right now, in my opinion, and it's why we're seeing Iran ramp up escalations like they have been over the last 48, 72 hours. So, and really, again, one of the main contributing factors here is one of the reasons it goes along with one of the reasons I listed. Again, you'll have to check out my video later I posted on my channel, taken from my episode yesterday, where I said one of the other reasons why Iran likely struck Fujairah is because the Emiratis are allowing us to park a lot of our military units and equipment and vehicles and aircraft in Saudi Arabia, in this region over here and far out eastern, where I can't show you due to streaming from my phone. But essentially, that's where we're gathering forces there. Iran's right up here. They can't be happy with that, and they're not. And so striking Fujairah also serves as a reminder that our military units being parked in this region are not safe from attacks from Iran and could be targeted at any given moment. So, part of the other messaging here is what Iran has originally demanded of us since the start of this war was that the U.S. leave all pulled out all of our troops and forces from the Persian Gulf entirely. And so that's very likely part of the pressure campaign as well. Now, the other option that I'm thinking here is let's just go down a little bit of a conspiratorial rabbit hole here. We can't eliminate this possibility, unfortunately, 100%. Though I think what I just covered is the more likely outcome. Let's just acknowledge it. Iran might genuinely not be striking the United Arab Emirates. Maybe it wasn't them. At which point, of course, we have to then use the words that sets off a lot of the chuds who will roll their eyes, but we'll say it anyway. False flag operation. This is a hypothetical people have talked about. It's no secret. False flag operations have been proven to have taken place in the past, and it wouldn't surprise me, though I think it's unlikely, and I do think it's obviously Iran. That's what I'll tell you. I'm not here to be a Alex Jones 5-head level, my pineal gland is wide open. I dream vividly every night of this stuff. I'm not on that level, okay? I'm just not. I love Alex Jones, by the way. I'm just not on his level. So I'll just genuinely and quickly run by it and say I think there's at least a small chance it could be a false flag. Why? Well, because remember who ultimately profits off of war? Israel, actually, and I've covered that before, and the elites here in America. This is profitable for a certain elite class here in the country. It's profitable for elites all across the world and for Israel. The longer this war goes on, the more Israel benefits from it. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that right now based off of their expansion into South Lebanon. The second we did this, they were banking on Hezbollah's retaliation because Hezbollah is allied with Iran, and it was very obvious to everybody in the world, except for the average American idiotic chud here in this country, that Israel was the reason we got involved in this war. Benjamin Netanyahu visited the White House 7 times in about 1 year. And every time he did, it seemed like something the Americans didn't vote for was taking place. The Epstein files got withheld from us, and then we wound up striking in Operation Midnight Hammer last summer, and then we just moved our Navy out of Venezuela, where, in my opinion, we were actually doing good work. Make no bones about it, I'm a social and fiscal conservative. I'm just not a MAGA cultist or Trump supporter, so I was supporting the Venezuelan operations. I have no problem with that. I'm a Monroe Doctrine guy. Let's stick to our Western Hemisphere, get it under wraps, take control of it, benefit from it, use it to our advantage. That's what our founding fathers intended for us to do. But when that was taking place, of course, Bibi goes back to the White House and tells Trump, oh, you did a great job there with Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. You can do the same in Iran. You can take out the Iranian regime very quickly. And you do owe us a lot, despite the fact that you give us everything and we give you nothing. You owe us. Never forget that. We're a persecuted people. And so we go back there immediately. 50% of our Navy goes back. Then they trick us as soon as our Navy's sitting ducks there and our air bases are all vulnerable. Then we get the phone call. This is confirmed reporting. Marco Rubio admitted it. Hegseth admitted it. Trump kind of admitted it as well. Mike Johnson kind of admitted it. Israel calls and says, "Well, perfect. We're going to strike Iran right now." It's like, whoa, what the fuck? If they do that, there will be a counterattack. We'll get damaged. That's the whole point. We need to strike first now because Israel's going to do it anyway. So we do. And this is what happens, and it's very obvious to the rest of the world. And Israel, since then, their economy's benefiting. We send them $3.8 billion annually every single year after the October 7th attacks, and since those, we've sent an additional 21 to 25 billion extra dollars on top of that. And how's their economy doing? Well, their inflation went down. It's now down to 1.9%, cream of the crop level inflation rates that we would kill for in this country. Meanwhile, in March, our inflation went up to 3.5%. Our prices are going up. Our gas is struggling. Israel goes right up into South Lebanon, though, waiting for the Hezbollah retaliation and seizing the moment to justify further expanding to achieve greater Israel, of course. So this is the incentive of war, and you have to understand there's one country that always seems to benefit despite it, and every other country, of course, doesn't. So, and then on top of it, the elites that live in all of these countries, regardless of the fact that the countries don't benefit from war, the elites do. They invest in Lockheed Martin and all of these other stocks and all of these other armament suppliers and manufacturers, etc. They invest in all of that. The materials needed to make these war materials. They invest in all of that. So they make tons of money when we're at war. So a false flag operation, when it comes to the UAE, sure, it's possible. Absolutely. Won't rule it out. That being said, like I said, I still think it's way more likely that it is, in fact, just Iran doing it. And I think, like I broke down on my prior episode last night and clipped into a video and put on this channel separately, I think the UAE announcing that they were leaving OPEC and OPEC Plus starting May 1st, so already having left, was more than incentive enough for Iran to strike Fujairah and target their oil industry, especially when you look at the numbers. Essentially, the numbers indicate that when the Emiratis were part of OPEC and OPEC Plus, they were producing something to the effect of 3.7 to 3.9 million barrels of oil. I believe I can't remember the time frame now. I believe that's per day actually, but that's the amount of oil they were restricted. Is the point? Now that they can leave OPEC and OPEC Plus, an additional 1.9 million barrels of oil could be potentially freed up. When you look at Fujairah, and which is obviously what the Emiratis, it's one of their major oil industry locations, Fujairah is responsible for 1.7 million barrels of oil. So striking that and taking that out almost nullifies, if they take it out completely, which I don't think that they've done, but that almost would nullify them leaving OPEC to begin with until it can be repaired, if it can be repaired. And so I think there was more than enough incentive, and using the guise of war and political tensions, geopolitical tensions, violence in the Middle East, I think Iran seized the moment, in all honesty. And for that reason, though people don't like hearing this, I do think it was actually smart for Iran to do it. But Iran continues to deny it, is the point. So we'll have more updates on that in the future. But despite all of this taking place right now, despite all of this happening with the increased escalation in the Strait of Hormuz, another cargo ship, like I said at the beginning of the show going live, another cargo ship, a French one, now struck again off of the coast of Dubai in this region, the Persian Gulf Strait of Hormuz region, very likely by Iran. Fourth ship in the last 48 hours struck. Escalation rising. Despite all of this, I got to play this clip here. This was Pete Hegseth today. Basically saying, the ceasefire is not over. Here we go.
Last 24 hours or so, Iran's fired at us. We fired at Iran. Just going to ask you more directly, is the ceasefire over?
No, the ceasefire is not over. Ultimately, this is a separate and distinct project. And we expected there would be some churn at the beginning, which happened. And we said we would defend aggressively, and we absolutely have. Iran knows that. And ultimately, the president's going to make a decision whether anything were to escalate into a violation of a ceasefire. But certainly we would urge Iran to be prudent in the actions that they take to keep that underneath this threshold. This is about the straits. This is about freedom of navigation. This is about international waterways. This is about free flow of commerce, all the things that happened before.
I love that, and that's why I'm going to choose to pause it right there. First, he says, of course, the ceasefire's not over. They've hit 4 ships in the last 48 hours, and Fujairah, of course, which is the Emiratis oil industry. Like I said, that's a friendly nation to the United States. But the ceasefire is not over. And I'm going to break that down. I'm going to explain why they're saying this, because then I'm going to get into what Trump's major update today was on Project Freedom, Operation Freedom. It all coincides, and I'm going to explain why this narrative is shifting so heavy and hard right now. Of course, be sure to like the stream, double tap those phone screens, help me out, help the stream, help me in my war. I'm in a war right now, and I'm thinking about going nuclear at some point. I'll just tell you that. But I'm in a war right now with the YouTube algorithm. So like the stream, double tap your phone screen. It's free to do. And as my moderator says, if you don't, he hopes your mother takes all your coloring books, you crayon eating bimbos and chuds. Anyways, ceasefire's not over, and I love how he said, this is about international waterways. This is about restoring free-flowing commerce. Everything that it was like before. It's like, oh yeah, let's stop right there, Pete. What do you mean everything that it was like before? Before what? Before what? February 28th, when we struck Tehran at the behest of Israel? You mean the Strait of Hormuz? You mean to tell me that the Strait of Hormuz was wide open and free for all the countries and their ships to pass through it? Completely free, under no threats? No threat of being blown up like they're being blown now. No threat of having to pay a $2 million toll just for safe passage or running into a mine otherwise. Interesting. I love how he admits that accidentally. It's like a Freudian slip almost. But yeah, so that's where we're at on that. Despite all of this taking place, the ceasefire still holds. And we expect, I guess, basically according to them, we expect the ceasefire will hold, but we also expected that Iran would ramp up tensions and violence in the region. But nevertheless, the ceasefire holds. Why do you think that our stance is softening so quickly, might I ask? Going to get into that. But I want to first also get into the fact that essentially what's happening here and what's on display in some regard here by Pete Hegseth saying this is that Iran is calling America's bluffs. They're calling Trump's bluffs specifically. And if this is not your first time tuning in, you've heard me made the contrasting kind of depiction here between what game Trump is playing versus what game Iran is playing. Trump is playing poker, and that's a game that requires a little bit of strategy, granted, and Trump has made some okay moves at first. But it's a lot of bluffing, and there's no long-term strategy for poker because it's played on a per-hand basis. And really, the goal of poker is to just play until you're content, or ideally till you've made money, and then you leave. You leave the entire table and you're done. Iran's playing chess, and we've seen this via multiple of their tactics and strategies being implemented so far over the past 66 days now. And they're playing chess in a multitude of different ways. They're levying Trump against Israel. We've seen that based off their demands and requests. And we're seeing it based off of their escalation not only over the weekend, but over the last couple of days and how they're playing this game out. And chess is a game that's played long and to completion with a very distinct goal in mind. Now, we did go into the Middle East with a distinct goal, but it is an ever-changing goal with new objectives constantly being taken off the list and re-added on, and new objectives being added on the list as well, like the Strait of Hormuz. This was not a problem until we started this campaign, and now it's perhaps the biggest problem. And that ties in with another episode I did earlier. I won't rehash everything, but that ties in with the Pax Americana and the UN treaty signed post-World War II, establishing safe and free international waters that's ultimately upheld by our U.S. Navy. But that can only be done if our Navy remains credible, if our military remains respected, if our country remains feared. So that's really what's here. And Iran's calling all of these bluffs. And as far as we can tell, they struck the UAE, and Trump did next to nothing about this. I reported yesterday there were some explosions taking place on Keshem Island, which is right up here. It's one of perhaps the most important strategical locations for Iran. That's Keshem Island, and this is Larik Island. Iran has mined all of the international waterway in the middle right up here to prevent ships from going that route. They can try to hug the coast of Oman to make it through, but that's risky, or they can go up the guaranteed safe way in between Larik and Keshem Island, where Iran will charge them a $2 million toll, which can be paid via yuan currency, bypassing our US dollar, so doubly damaging to us, or cryptocurrency, courtesy of stable coins. And they've already succeeded in doing this with a few ships. And so reports of explosions on Keshem were coming in yesterday. Now, we're not sure what's going on there either yet. I still was trying to find out exactly the concrete details of that. We just don't know yet. But nevertheless, we don't know if that's the U.S. We don't know what's happening. And it could be the UAE retaliating. We're just not sure. What we do know is, concretely, Trump responded to all of these attacks on these ships and on Fujairah by taking out 6 of Iran's speedboats. And Trump's one of those guys that does advocate to match force with force. So he doesn't advocate for going scorched earth over what he considers little offenses. But still, the whole thing is that's really not anything major. Iran has a pretty sizable speedboat force. We call it their Mosquito Navy. It's not the most threatening thing in the world to begin with, but it's sizable. Taking out 6 of their speedboats doesn't really mean much. And certainly isn't satisfying when it comes to responding to Fujairah's oil industry possibly being destroyed and multiple cargo ships carrying millions of dollars worth of freight possibly being destroyed as well. And so, gauging this, Iran no doubt has realized that Trump is bluffing and full of bluster and can't really match their force with the force of our own anymore. That's the conclusion I've come to here. It's not just about adding pressure to President Trump to end this war, but it's also Iran's strikes right now are to serve as another reminder, a double down on their end, reminding us of how much control they have over the region. And this is all being done, of course, despite what Pete Hegseth would go on to say today at the press conference with Raisin Kane, where he was literally calling our involvement in this Persian Gulf region and in the Strait of Hormuz, he called it a gift to the world. And that's not the first time this terminology was used. You can take a listen to that clip right here.
And right now, hundreds more ships from nations around the world are lining up to transit. CENTCOM, along with partner nations, is in active communication with hundreds of ships, shipping companies, and insurers. All of these ships from all around the world want to get out of the Iranian trap that they have been stuck inside. As a direct gift from the United States to the world, we have established a powerful red, white, and blue dome over the strait. American destroyers are on station, supported by hundreds of fighter jets, helicopters, drones, and surveillance aircraft, providing 24/7 overwatch for peaceful commercial vessels.
So he calls it a red, white, and blue dome over the strait and a gift to the world, which is just, again, so absurd when you understand that, again, pre-February 28th, there was no issues. There were no issues in the Strait of Hormuz. It was open and free for all. So what was our gift to the world? It's now a double blockade that ensures nothing gets out of the strait. That's what he refers to as the red, white, and blue dome, by the way, in combination with, like he says, our Apache helicopters and A-10 Warthogs, etc. Our gift to the world is we locked down the Strait of Hormuz double. Iran's got it closed off. We locked it down too. That's our real gift. But that's not what he was trying to imply. He's trying to imply that we're here to save the day, even though it's literally a problem we fucking created. We started the engagement in Iran. We bombed Tehran. We killed their holy leader. We killed schoolgirls by accident. We struck the school twice. We killed multiple of their leaders. We've taken out thousands of their targets. We've blown up their bridges. We've worsened the quality of life for Iranian civilians. They've responded by choking the global economy and taking control of the strait, shutting it down, and threatening any ships that are trying to pass through with their own safety, or they can pay a toll. We've matched that by saying, if you pay that toll, we'll sanction you and your country. And on top of it, we're shutting down the strait too. That's our gift to the world. That's not what Pete Hegseth meant, by the way, but that's actually the reality of it. And what is he trying to say? Well, now there's going to be protection. He said, bear in mind, he said this morning, and another cargo ship was struck just a few hours ago, long after he said this. They were struck. Likely deny that they were the ones that struck it, but I believe it's a 95% chance it's Iran doing it. Otherwise, it's a false flag, which I think is still actually unlikely. And so Iran struck it, and we have the red, white, and blue dome set up, he says. And then many hours later after that, breaking news, French cargo ship struck, Filipino crew injured, multiple Filipinos injured, and what can we do about it at this point, really? And this is really what is so bad about this entire situation. Iran has complete control of the Strait of Hormuz. I said that on this channel to begin with. I said that was always going to be the case. It's international waters, but it also is waters that borders their mainland, and they're a large country. This is not some ragtag scumbag Middle East country like we're used to dealing with, like Afghanistan or even Iraq. This is a much larger, more prominent, more powerful country with an established empire built into it from the days of old, the Persian Empire and the IRGC. These are better trained troops. I still think they don't compare to our soldiers. Of course, I'll say that as an American nationalist, and I believe that. But ultimately, they have a large army. They have better equipment. And most importantly, they've been preparing for this day since at least last year after Operation Midnight Hammer, where it became very obvious that Israel would never not allow us to not continue striking them, right? So they know this, and they've been preparing ballistic missiles, drones, cruise missiles, etc. And they're now taking these shots off despite the red, white, and blue dome being in effect, and despite us giving a gift to the world via a double blockade. They're still successfully striking cargo ships, and we can't do anything about it. We literally can't stop it. But beyond that, even worse, it doesn't get better. And here's why we're seeing such a downscale here. Here's why, after all of this happens over the weekend and into tonight even, after Hegseth's speech, during Hegseth's speech, he tones this down and says, well, the ceasefire still exists. And I'm about to get into Trump's breaking news on Operation Freedom, which was downgraded to just Project Freedom, but then re-elevated to Operation Freedom. I'll explain that too. But before I get into that, I just want to go over the fact that another time constraint is making it very difficult for the United States to continue to operate in this region. And that is, of course, that our U.S. armaments and munitions are now running dangerously low. And this is according to many credible reports with concerns that continued depletion of our armaments. Bearing in mind, I covered this when it took place. Marco Rubio just sent $8.6 billion of this stuff over to countries like the Emirates, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, etc. Possibly Kuwait, I think, was on there. This entire region. It's almost as if we knew this was going to happen, and we armed them up and beefed up their defense with Patriot interceptor missiles, etc. But if we continue to do this, there are now credible warnings being put out there that our U.S. mainland could wind up being more exposed than it should be based off of our defensive munitions running too low. We just have to, we're in this quicksand region now where all empires go to die. There's no real good exit for President Donald Trump here. So born out of this ego, this American-fueled ego, which I halfway don't blame him for. I blame him completely for getting involved in the war. But now that we're there, you have to understand how perception is reality and how important this is geopolitically, that America doesn't come out of this looking weaker or worse. And it's already too late, unfortunately. But I don't blame him as a leader for now wanting to look dominant. Unfortunately, that's a trap too. The ego is becoming just as much of a quicksand as the region itself is. We're pulled in, we're drawn in, we're stuck. We can't leave now without looking bad. And that's where the ego comes in and ensures that it remains quicksand. So we continue depleting these munitions for our own use, and we're giving them away in some cases to allies to protect them. I've got the breakdown here. We've blown through now over 1,100 JSSM-ER stealth cruise missiles. That's close to the entire number that we had set aside originally for counterattacks to Chinese aggression. We've blown through over 1,100 of those. On top of that, more than 1,000 Tomahawk missiles have been used, and we only produce about 50 to 60 of those per year. We've blown through 1,000 of them. The same kind of missile, by the way, that was credited for blowing up the Iranian school and killing over 140 schoolgirls. And then we tried to say, of course, well, we don't know where that missile came from. Iran did it to themselves. That was actually reported to us by the president, by the way. They're crazy. They blew up their own school. Who knows why? They're whack jobs. They blew up their own children in their own schools because they're sickos and they're a disgusting regime and we're going to kill them all. Well, it's very likely our own missiles, especially when you realize we've blown through 1,000 of them. And again, we only produce 50 to 60 of those on an annual basis. Beyond that, 1,200 Patriot interceptor missiles and counting. 1,200 Patriot interceptors. That is crazy because when you understand how much those cost, you realize just how conservative of an estimate the Iran war cost tracker is telling us we've blown through. Again, currently $72,271,000,000, it says. Definitely much more than that. And, these Patriot interceptor missiles are around $4 million each to produce, and they take a considerable amount of time to make. And so, in addition to that, we've gone through half of our THAADs, THAADS, half of those are gone, and nearly half of our precision strike missiles as well have been depleted. This is billions of dollars, billions with a B, and possibly we're talking about total cost, I think over $100 billion, billions flushed down the toilet because we've achieved nothing in this region. And that's something I'll double down on and break down further later on in this episode, but we've achieved nothing. We've actually made it worse. And we spent billions in this region in just 65 days. That's where we're at right now. And with these munitions running so low, that truthfully is why Pete Hegseth is talking like a little bitch on television. And despite Iran ramping up their aggression and flexing on us in front of the global world, in front of our allies and enemies alike, taking out more ships, targeting Fujairah, targeting the Emiratis' oil, a country who we took money from and pledged to provide peace and protection to. And then when this happened, we did nothing in response virtually. They just continue to do this to reinstate their power, to flex on us. And we have Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of War. They changed the department name. I actually support that. But they changed it to Secretary of War, pre-World War II style. And he says, well, the ceasefire's still intact. It's a bitch move. And you don't expect that from a hothead like Hegseth. So what's going on? And really, that's what leads me to Trump's breaking news as of just about 2 or 3 hours ago now. He gave us an update. He gave us an update on Operation Freedom. Here's what he had to announce. Based on numerous requests from Pakistan and other countries, from the tremendous military success that we've had during the campaign against the country of Iran, and additionally, the fact that great progress has been made toward a complete and final agreement with representatives of Iran, we have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom, the movement of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not the agreement can be finalized and signed. President Donald J. Trump. That was updated to us, about 4.5 hours ago now. So again, what is this? Is this Trump talking a tough game? Is this classic Kekona American rhetoric? We're going to bomb them into oblivion. Is this power plant day and bridge day? No. This is Trump saying, you know what? Operation Freedom, we said we were going to first escort ships out of the Strait of Hormuz using our naval destroyer ships. Then we changed it to, well, we'll keep them near the blockade, but we encourage all ships to sail towards it. And if you're fired upon, we'll fire back and try to protect you. That didn't work. And by the way, not a single ship made it out courtesy of Operation Freedom. Not a single one. But that didn't work. So now it's pausing Operation Project Freedom. Sorry, Project Freedom. It's not an operation. War Powers Act. We're observing it. 60 days have expired. It's just a project. This is like a hobby of mine. Freedom's like a hobby. Project Freedom. It's like a hobby of mine to create problems in the Middle East that shut down the global economy and then try to solve the problem. I like taking things apart and then trying to rebuild them. Project Freedom is paused. That coincides perfectly with everything we were hearing messaging-wise from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. The ceasefire is still intact. This is just a gift to the world right now on our part. That's what this is. And then Trump saying, it's paused. Project Freedom's paused. We can't help any of the ships there. But there's going to be a final and complete deal. And really, that's the words that I want to those are the two words I want to focus on here. Final and complete agreement. Or, sorry, he worded it opposite. Complete and final agreement. That gives me just a little bit of hope. Because in all honesty, for the aforementioned reason of our munitions running very, very low, serving now as yet again another time constraint, critical time constraint in our involvement in the Middle East, we might actually finally be moving towards a circumstance now where, for better or worse, Trump finds himself in a position where he has to negotiate seriously with Iran. Not these half-baked negotiations led by two Jewish Zionists in the form of Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, but actual negotiations. Not Iran must unconditionally surrender, but actually discussing terms and trying to work out a deal. And in my opinion, sadly, though as an American I wish it weren't this way, sadly, the best we could hope for, very likely, and I've said this in episodes past and broke down why, the best we could hope for is a Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action 2.0 deal, aka the Obama nuclear deal, the one that Trump ripped up. So either way, no matter what happens here, I don't see how America walks away looking victorious from this. I don't see how America walks away not taking some sort of strategic L. But when it's a deal done on paperwork, Trump can very easily do damage control on TV and in front of the press. And his goy slop eating boomer constituents, all that he has left, supporter-wise, 80-year-old boomers who grew up watching William F. Buckley, and that's the facts, well, they'll eat that up. And then they'll come online because somehow boomers are addicted to scrolling on shorts, literally. So I get boomers in here all the time, and I'm going live mainly from like a YouTube Shorts element. And I'll get boomers in here. They'll come in here in this chat if that happens, and they'll say, see, you are panicking. Trump ripped up that Obama-Iran nuclear deal and created a better one. And I'll tell you this, I pretty much promise that my response to that case will be, oh, you're so right. Yeah, what a panicking I was. I'm just glad it's over. Because I'm just glad it'll be over. I just want this to be done. I'll eat the crow that they think they're serving me, when in actuality they're just exposing themselves to be absolutely fucking stupid. But I'll eat that. I just want us out of this region. We need to return home, and Trump needs to focus on solving our economic problems and societal and cultural problems right here in America. Let's get back to immigration. Let's get back to even Venezuela. I mean, at this point, let's start taking their fucking oil for all I care. But let's get that Monroe Doctrine instated and take our Western Hemisphere seriously again. Let's leave this Middle East cursed region to all of the cursed people who occupy it. The Jews, the Muslims. This is their holy war. We should be staying out of this. And so that's where I'm at on that. But that's why I get a little bit of hope. Just a little bit complete and final agreement. He's never used terminology like that so far. In fact, we've heard the opposite from him in just about a month or two ago, where he was talking about unconditional surrender being the only acceptable outcome. So we're here at this point right now on the verge probably of this finally concluding. Parkbite says you lost me. Well, get fucking lost then, bitch. Swipe the fuck off this stream and make sure you never come back. You think I can? You lost me. You lost me there. You lost me. You think I give a shit? Go fly on Spirit Airlines. Oh wait, you can't. Fly your ass out of here on Spirit Airlines, bitch. Leave a super chat tariff down below first, though. You owe it. You owe it to me at this point. I wish I could tap some of your names down there and just suck $2 out of your account, you stupid goy scum. I wish I could just suck that out. Be like, that's a stupid chat, $2, boom. Anyways, where was I? Yeah, here we go. The deal must be brokered soon, and that's why he's using this terminology. It must be brokered. Like, we are running out of time, and I've covered all the time constraints that Trump is battling currently right now, literally right now. And so some of those, again, I'll just review them quickly without breaking them down. Midterms. Of course, I think most people instantly recognize this. Midterms are a big problem politically. This whole region, Middle East wars, especially when it comes to millennials and Gen Z, Middle East wars are political poison for any administration to get involved in. So midterms are a massive constraint. It's probably already shot, by the way. And Trump was very bold and very full of hubris, actually, when it came to this war, saying he didn't care about gas prices. He didn't care about the polling. It was happening, and fuck you, basically. You know, and I pointed that out before. I said, you know, at the time of the State of the Union address speech by Trump, many people were predicting Trump would use that at the end to sell this war to us before it took place. And he didn't even do that. He didn't even bring it up, actually. He talked about Iran briefly. It got a standing ovation, actually, in Congress when he said Iran can't have a nuke. And that's because, again, all of those elites on both sides, the Democrats are just as disgusting. Both sides, they stood for that because the war makes them money. And so, but that's about it. That's all he said. Iran can't have a nuke. That's it. He didn't say we have to go back. We have to start something. We got to stop them. Just Iran can't have a nuke. That's always been my stance. Operation Midnight Hammer was successful. Didn't even try to sell it like this is what we're going to do, or we're thinking about doing this, or we got to try to do this and it's going to happen. Nothing. It was never tried. They never attempted to sell it to us because we are just cattle in our own nation. You work your 9-to-5 job, you shut the fuck up, and you pay your taxes to fund this shit. We don't care if you like it or not, you stupid scum cattle. You're going to just fund it regardless, and it doesn't fucking matter. And if it pisses you off enough, vote Democrat, basically. And why? Well, because the Democrats, they may not go to war on Israel's behalf, but the funding will still continue. Many of them are speaking out against Israel now, but behind the scenes, they're still funded by AIPAC, etc. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, great example. She's a shill for Israel. She just makes public grandstanding statements against them. But that's really the whole reality. Is it's two parties really, but not really. And so that's why they don't care. You get mad enough to vote for the other party, and this stuff kind of happens still anyway. Maybe we don't go to physical war with them, but all the funding, everything that's necessary to take place, it's just a preparation season for the war when a neocon gets back in office then. Another time constraint, the oil supply and markets. And again, on this channel, I covered that long before any other channel really wanted to admit it. I said from the start, you have the MAGA cheerleader chud channels. They're saying, I don't know how Trump does it. Do you see these oil futures? I don't know how he does it. Everything he touches just turns to gold. He truly is a one-of-a-kind president. Oh, they're looking at oil futures not moving up and down that much, and that's because very obviously Trump was gaslighting the markets at 7:30 a.m. Monday morning and at 3 p.m. Friday evening before they open and close, and he was giving them a bunch of fake good news just to keep them optimistic. The markets are thin air. They're fucking fake. You blow and they change. And it's obvious that the markets are drunk on these highs of President Trump and on war and on this conflict being resolved quickly. The reality, however, is the oil supply and our oil reserves. And I covered that on this channel before any other channel I saw do it. And I gave the time frame on that. And I said, we're like less than 60 days away from our oil reserves drying up. And when that happens, nothing Trump says can change that. The oil futures will go crazy and our gas prices will soar. And so that's a time constraint right now. In addition to the midterms, the political time constraint. In addition, our allies' patience with this entire situation is also a massive time constraint. Heavy diplomatic pressure is on Trump's shoulders right now over this. Pakistan is essentially out. They're in an oil crisis now, as of today. And other countries are going to be following suit in just about 2 to 3 weeks if this excursion continues. Australia's in big trouble. Japan is an ally Japan is the country that we should be treating the way Israel was treated by scumbag George Bush and all of his predecessors in the early 2000s, etc. Japan is the future. Our threat is China. Our focus should be on the Arctic Circle, which is why we should take Greenland. And we should also focus on the Indo-Pacific. And we should cozy up with Japan, do everything we can to keep them strong so that we can, unfortunately, possibly we might have to use them in the future, like we used Israel for most of the bullshit Middle East wars of the 2000s. But instead, we've hurt Japan. They've had to dip into their own oil reserves, and we have basically kind of just forsaken them in exchange for the country that should be irrelevant to us at this point, which is, of course, Israel. So our allies' patience is a time constraint, no doubt. On top of that, the global economy, massive time constraint. We've already fucked it up this year. It's going to be a recession, in my opinion, no matter what happens, and for a whole host of different reasons. Helium, fertilizer, oil, everything. Major issues. Diesel skyrocketing, cost of transportation's going up. Farmers can't grow as much crops because they can't afford as much fertilizer. And that means, of course, increase in demand, and less supply, which means much higher prices. We haven't even begun to feel that here in the United States, really. We've noticed the prices going up a little bit, but really you'll see that in the summer and in the fall. And we're just not even there yet. And that's even if this war ends tomorrow. We're still going to feel this. This will not only have a lag effect, but in all honesty, when it comes to our economy and the inflation, we'll see the prices continue to go up regardless, in my opinion. So that's a major issue. We can't keep going with this because if we keep going another 2 or 3 months, we're risking more than just a global recession and a U.S. recession. We're risking more. It could get worse. Like, we're in a bottleneck right now, and people do not understand how this works. Beyond that, you have, again, the chuds that say, well, only 5 to 10% of our oil goes through that region, and now Trump and his genius has a lot of countries coming to us for oil, so we're making money. Yeah, think about that for a second. We're draining our supply for other foreign countries. What does that mean? Let's follow that to completion. Well, first of all, that means that the oil executives here in this country make the money. They make the money. They have the increased opportunity to sell now. They're smiling. They love that. What does that mean, though, when the supply decreases here because we're selling to other countries that we've inadvertently victimized, Strait of Hormuz being choked off after we struck Tehran? Well, when our supply goes down, that means demand goes up, which means what? Prices go up. So you want to tell me about how it's helping America? Trump and his genius is selling our oil off? Okay, yeah. In addition to that, countries that are panicking are trying to hoard oil even more, which means the total global oil supply gets depleted even faster. So, again, people have a complete terrible read on this entire circumstance because they listen to cheerleader channels that are secret neocon channels that love war, and or maybe they hate war, but they're coping over it because their Lord and Savior Donald Trump started this quagmire and we can't get out of it now. So they're desperate to change the reality. This hurts China. This is about oil. We're making more money. Trump is a genius. We're selling oil now. Don't you get it? It helps us. No, none of that helps us, actually. And there's so many goyim down there. It's so ridiculous. Paul, you're such a fool. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that's why our gas prices keep going up. You stupid fucking goyim. Do me a favor, help balance out that chat deficit. If you just left one of those kind of chats, there's the $ right there. You owe me fucking money for the headache. I'm going to have to buy Aleve or aspirin after this show dealing with that kind of stupidity. Beyond that, our U.S. economy, another time constraint, and the munitions and supplies, like I just broke down for you, how much we've used, especially when you understand what we're using, oftentimes takes years to produce and stockpile like we had before depleting it. We've been backing Ukraine financially and with munitions, so we have done ourselves no favors, again, by choosing foreign interest over American interests. We've done no favors over the last 5 years. We've just supported all these other countries, all these stupid fucking wars, and it's jeopardizing our national security and our ability to have a force output. Force doctrine. Force doctrine is key here. Whichever country can generate the most force kinetically is likely to win. And we're running low on our munitions, which means not only are we putting our own national security at risk defensively, but we're also just losing the ability to keep going in the war anyway. And that's again why Pete Hegseth said, well, despite the fact that 4 ships have been struck by Iran in the last 48 hours, and they struck Fujairah, which is the oil industry for one of our kind of our allies, the Emiratis, the ceasefire still holds, actually. Yeah, we kind of anticipate a little tit for tat going on still, so no big deal. No big deal at all. And then Trump today says, Operation Freedom, it's done. Okay, we're going to pause that, actually. We're going to pause it. We're going to see if we can get a final and complete deal. Yeah, that's because we're just running out of time entirely. Time is running out. And probably at this point for the better. I think we're all exhausted of this Iran war topic. It's a war nobody asked for. It's deeply unpopular with America as a whole. Only anywhere between 22 to 33% support from all the polls that I see. So it's time. It's high time. Now, what's important to note is all of this is why Iran has remained not only defiant, and I said this would be the case, by the way. Man, as time goes on, it's just like, I'm so fucking smart. I'm infinitely smarter than most of the goyim in the chat. Like, I'm so fucking smart. I'm so smart. It's such a unique combo on the stream. Charismatic, good looking, smart, on point. 80% accurate predictions. I've predicted ceasefires. I've predicted escalations before they occurred. You don't get anything better analysis-wise on YouTube than right here, which is why you should subscribe right now to American Advocates for more content like this, especially if you're stupid, which many of you are. You need to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you're notified, and then tune in the second I go live to save yourself from your own stupidity. So subscribe. Like the stream also if you haven't already. Just double tap those phone screens or find the thumbs up button and tap on it for me. It helps the stream perform better in the algorithm. But the fact of the matter is, I just feel more and more vindicated over time. I said the thing with Iran would be their standard of victory is so low. It's their home territory. They have home field advantage. And all they really need to do is just outlast us and outweight us. And when did I say that to anybody who's a regular on this show? Man, I said that maybe week 1, maybe like 3 or 4 days in when it became apparent to me, before it became apparent to most people, most of the goy scum eating MAGA chud channels who said, no, Trump's a man of his word. This will be a 5-day bombing run campaign and then we're out. It became apparent to me very quickly. We're in here for quite a while longer than what they're telling us. And the standard of victory is insane because Iran just needs to outlast us. And how am I able to say stuff? How am I able to be so fucking smart and sexy? I can't tell you how I'm so sexy. But how am I able to be so smart? It's easy. I look at history. And it's not even like I'm talking ancient history here. You don't have to even be a history buff. It's called go back in time 23, 24, 25 years ago and understand where we were then. We were doing the same fucking shit in the same stupid fucking regions over a bunch of nonsense and false intelligence. And where did it get us? And where did it get, more importantly, those countries? It got us $6 trillion in debt, thousands of soldiers' lives lost, and nothing. We didn't take the oil. They're telling us we're going to take Iran's oil. That's laughable. We didn't take the oil. My gas prices didn't drop to 39 cents a gallon afterwards. In fact, they stayed high and kept getting higher, with periods of downturn, but then right back up. We didn't take the oil. We lost soldiers' lives, thousands of them. We spent $6 trillion for Iraq. We went into debt, $6 trillion. We spent $2 trillion up front, $4 trillion in debt, I believe is what it was. And is Iraq or Afghanistan a shining beacon of Western democracy? Are they now first world countries glittering and glowing with the chef's kiss European touch? Are they civilized nations now with free and fair elections, elected rulers that rule with benevolency? No. They're hellholes. They're shitholes. They're disgusting. They're poor. There's nothing to them. There's violence. People get their heads cut off. Christians are killed. We're still doing limited strikes in Iraq, actually. We just left Syria, and it's about to be taken over by ISIS, Al-Qaeda, whatever. They're not democracies. The people aren't better off. Everything's worse. It's all shit. And what happened there? Well, the extremists, the jihadis, we killed them. We killed tons of them. But what did they do? They just went into hiding. They just hid. And they said, yeah, it's hot. It's terrible here. There's disgusting camel-eating spiders that just that bite the soldiers. You know, if you know, you know. These guys are going to get sick of this. The country's going to get sick of it. We'll just outlast them. And that's what they did. And it took years, granted. We were stubborn about it. We should have left a lot sooner. But they outlasted us. The second we left some of these countries, by the way, the democratic systems we helped set up for them, and the soldiers we even helped train to preserve it, they surrendered within months and turned it right back over to the extremists. and we are foolish enough to go into Iran and be sold on a lie. There are bleeding heart liberals, and by that I mean MAGA chuds, because liberals are bad enough when it comes to their stupid, emotional, bleeding hearts. But the MAGA chuds, you don't expect this from them. You guys are supposed to be the cold, ruthless, logical ones that think about stuff fiscally. And yet you were sold the lie too. Oh, don't you feel bad for the Persians there? They're occupied by an evil, disgusting regime. It's basically Hitler, but Muslim. And the people are suffering. We gotta liberate them. That's a liberal talking point, but I was hearing that from MAGA chuds. Oh, we gotta help those people. No, we don't. You think you think I lose sleep over anything going on in Iran? I've never been there. I'll never be there. Literally never. I won't lose sleep over it either. You know what I lose sleep over? I lose sleep over stuff like our economy, our housing market crisis. I lose sleep over the jobs market. I lose sleep over the fact that Gen Z and my generation, millennials, will likely never own anything significant. I lose sleep over the declining birth rates. I lose sleep over the brownification of America, possible open borders again, no border wall, open immigration. I lose sleep over cultural and societal erosion in this country. I lose sleep over our national debt about to hit 40 trillion fucking dollars. I lose sleep over AI not being regulated enough and inevitably replacing 50% of American jobs in the next decade. I lose sleep over the Israel worship in this country by all of our fucking gross politicians. I lose sleep over big pharma being introduced into our politics as well. All of the lobbying, all of the big donor money. I lose sleep over the fact that none of my politicians seem to represent me. I certainly don't lose sleep over the Iranians or Persians. Not that I hate them, but I just can't care about them. I don't know what it's like to be them. I don't believe in empathy. I think it's a fucking liberal myth. And they have their own problems, and they have to fight them the same way we have to fight our problems here. But nevertheless, you heard that. Oh, Persian liberation. Fuck you. Stop eating that shit up. That is copium. That's willfully embraced copium, knowing that this is a quagmire and that we shouldn't be getting involved. And what are we going to accomplish there? Are they on the verge of being liberated? No, not even close. And it's not going to happen. And I despise the regime, okay? I'm not an Iran sympathizer. I'm not an Iran supporter. Their regime is disgusting. You look into the details of what they do, it's gross overall. But nevertheless, it's not my problem, and I would prefer we're just not involved. They need to rise up and take their own country back if it's in their destiny to do so. We can't help them. And regime change never works from the top down anyway. It must come from the people. And it certainly can't be affected from the sky or from the sea, and we cannot put boots on the ground without Trump sacrificing whatever legacy credibility he has left, and certainly without him sacrificing the future of the Republican Party for the next 6, 8, 10 years, okay? So that's where we're at on that, and Iran knows that, so they're just playing the long game. It's Iran's goal to make us suffer as much as possible. They know that that's how they win. They just need to outlast us. So that's the whole point of all this. It's the same strategy played out for decades now in the Middle East, by the way. Nothing changes there. We tried it with Iran back in the day with the Shah. Didn't last even a full generation. So stupid. But, essentially what's going on here is punishing the world for the U.S. and Israel's involvement. They know this. They know that every other country right now and their world leaders know that this is all happening because of the U.S. and Israel. And most countries are more fairly targeting Israel. We're seeing Israeli flags, the Star of David flag, on the ground in Mexico being stomped on via people dancing, courtesy of people dancing on it, with a swastika spray painted on the flag. We're seeing wax statues of Benjamin Netanyahu being torn down with the head of the wax statue being beat in over in, I think, Spain. We're seeing Giorgia Meloni in Italy saying, I'm a Christian, I can't support Israel anymore. I'm not giving you any more defense spending packages from the Italian government. So they're targeting Israel, and they're recognizing the warmonger nation in the Middle East. Unfortunately, we're the stupid goy nation that chooses to remain allied with these people, despite the fact that we don't owe them our allegiance. They're not like NATO or something. There's no actually even signed real treaty with them. But we're the ones that pig-headedly keep staying allied with them. And again, that just comes down to the fact that AIPAC funds our Congress, big donor money supports our presidents. There's a stick element there. I've covered that before as well. It's not just the carrot. That's big. A lot of possible blackmail, etc. And then on top of that, of course, all of the elites in this country stand to gain more money and enrich themselves off of war. So Israel, in a lot of sense, is the greatest tool to the world elites for that reason. And that's why we're here. But by default, then, we're going to wind up potentially in the crosshairs of the rest of the world as they begin to grow more frustrated with Israel over all of their practices in the Middle East. And again, this is not to exonerate Iran. I am of the belief that the entire region is cursed. Iran is cursed. All of them are cursed. Israel too. So we shouldn't have anything to do with that. But Iran recognizes this, and that's why they want this to go on even longer. They feel like they can outlast us. It's a war of long suffering and of attrition. We're losing on the attrition end, and we're about to be losing on the suffering end. And the longer it goes on, the more the world suffers. And the more the world suffers, the more diplomacy will change and ultimately be ruined from an American standpoint. And beyond that, this is why Iran is now choosing violent and painful approaches as an ultimate deterrent right now. The escalation has gone on. Last 48 hours, I opened the show with breaking news. The French cargo ship struck just a couple of hours ago. People on board injured from the strikes. This is why they're doing this. And Iran denies they're doing it, but like I said, I'm 95% sure it's Iran. There's only a 5% chance it's a false flag. Iran's doing it. And they're doing it to remind us all, and they're doing it to flex on everybody in the world. They control the strait. It's theirs. We can't reopen it. We can't do anything about it. Operation Freedom is now paused because we can't do anything about it. And it failed. Operation Freedom failed. It didn't even work to begin with. And that's why Iran's doing this. It's just serving as another reminder. So beyond that, too, we're getting reports from within the administration that Trump is beginning to get desperate for an exit, as he should be. He should be desperate at this point, especially because we've seen some of the more recent interviews with Trump, some of the recent conferences held or events where he's brought up the polling now, and he even acknowledged that the war is not popular it's only popular with 33% of Americans. And, he does say, well, it's not popular with me either. I don't like war, but, it's a journey. It's a journey. We're on a little bit of a journey here. It had to be done. I've been saying for the longest time, Iran just can't have nukes. It's a journey. It had to happen. It's not popular. I don't like it, but, it's. Today, in front of school children, actually, he looked at them and said, if I had not done what I had done as your president, you'd all be dead within 2 weeks. Iran would have killed all of you. He didn't say that verbatim, but he literally, in front of school, there were school kids in the Oval Office, and when he was asked about Iran, he went off on his tangent, on his little weave, he calls it. And then basically with all the school kids around, he'd be like, you'd all be dead if it weren't for me. Iran would have nuked all of you, dead at age 9, all gone. So ridiculous. But those are the constraints. That's what's happening right here. And now the only hurdle that's left, unfortunately, is, again, it's Trump's expectations. And I'm going to go over that in a second here. I'm going to go over his expectations, and I'm going to cover why we're quickly running out of time and why Trump ultimately is going to have to make a deal. Before I do that, please be sure to subscribe to American Advocates right now. I go live every single day, Monday through Friday around the same time, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. More often than not lately, I've been about an hour late, but that's because I do a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of news watching, so that I can try to gather a correct analysis of what's happening and report on it for you guys. So subscribe right now if you haven't already. Turn on post notifications so you're notified every time I go live. And double tap those phone screens or hit the thumbs up for me. You can tap the 3 dots to find it. Liking the stream is free to do for all of you cheap goy who can't pay your super chat tariffs. And it does help this channel perform better in YouTube's algorithm. I want to take a look at just a few chats, though, see if you guys are saying anything significant. Wow, you are a negative Nelly, aren't you? Others would call you something else. What would they call me, Ron? You can say it. I am a free speech absolutist on this channel. You can say it. Unless it goes against YouTube terms of service, but that's not on my end, so. If it were up to me, all speech would be welcome. Word is Trump is literally writing up the same deal Obama did with Iran. Yeah, mine's end. So I said that moment. You probably are just tuning in, or perhaps you're not, but I did say, and I've said that on prior episodes, that I have a feeling this will go the route of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action 2.0. We'll just redraft the JCPOA, the Obama nuclear deal, and that'll be the best bet for Trump because he can control the propaganda and narrative of that and insist to the American public that it's a better deal. And to his credit, maybe he can come up with a better deal. And if he does, all the more power to him. But that's our best bet because it gets us out of the region. And then Trump can gas it up on TV and say, well, I ripped up Obama's deal, but that's because it sucked.
pallets of cash we're going to Iran, and that is just unacceptable. So in this deal, no actual cash, but we did unfreeze $20 billion of their assets. But otherwise, great deal.
So that's the best bet, and I actually am hoping for that. It's a problem. I am not a goy, says Justin. You're all of you are, including me. We're all in that. We're taking that back. We're taking that word back. Depends on the amount of effort you put forth and what you have to offer, says Dominic Calandra. I have nothing to offer you. I don't do this for you, Dominic Calandra. I'm not staying up at night thinking about how I can make this show better for Dominic Calandra. So don't subscribe for all I care. You think I care? Trump's ass smells like, okay, why would you even type that, dude? Come on now. What are the kids that were in the Oval Office today in my chat? Trump's ass smells like kangaroo farts. Trump shits his pants. Come on, guys. We got to be better than this, all right? The whole world is ending. Our country is about to be lost. You're in chat saying that right now? What the hell, man? Farmers. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. All the jobs are going to AI, and rent plus utilities have priced me out of the city. I have to move to a small town where land is cheap. That is unacceptable. And that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. And worse yet, you hear this all the time. When I say what Trump should be focusing on instead of the war, I'm told he can do both. But the reality is he can't, because people don't understand this for some reason. But doing what we're doing in the Middle East undermines the goals of our domestic objectives. Trump has a lot of good objectives, in my opinion. I'm a social and fiscal conservative. I'm just not a MAGA cultist. And so I see reality for what it is. I'm not under some delusion that Trump's flawless or perfect. In fact, he's done more of what I don't want than what I want. But some of Trump's goals are good. It's just, where are they? What's he doing about them? Nothing. When does he talk about them? Never. Because it's all about the war now. And this is not a war that benefits America in any way. War never benefits the average everyday citizen of the countries, ever. It actually makes things worse. We lose more freedoms during war, which is again why Trump was saying, we need the FISA Act unrestricted. We have to spy on you, unfortunately. Like, that's the prime example. Trump literally said that on Truth Social, that he would happily give up freedoms in exchange for safety, which goes literally against the wisdom of our founding fathers. He who would happily give up his freedom in exchange for safety deserves neither to be free nor safe. But we have Trump on Truth Social saying he would do it, and that we're at war. And so, it's all terrible. And yeah, that's the whole thing. You have to move out of Phoenix now. And if you ask Ben Shapiro, you should have to leave Phoenix. Ben Shapiro, a Jew, would sit there and tell you, despite the fact that his people are a diaspora, mind you, he would tell you, well, if you can't afford to live in the city you grew up in, maybe you should just leave it. You should just move. You have no right to live in the city you grew up in, or in any city for that matter. If you can't afford it, you got to leave. That's the mindset of these scumbags. It's unacceptable. We need an Americans first party to rise up, and we need to prioritize nationalism. So. Hey, Carlos Andres, good to see you back in here, man. I'm recognizing your name now. Good to see you back. The reality is that in the past, the global oil supply was lost by 7% twice. American stocks have dropped by 50%. There's already a 12% supply shortage. Yeah, it's not going to be bad. It's not going to be good. This year, 2026, is already shot economically because people think the second we leave this region, everything will get better. It doesn't work that way. Everything is a lag effect. This is a bottleneck right now. And so the bottleneck is restricting what can pass through. And when you leave, there might be a little bit of an opening explosion-like effect, but so much damage has been done and hasn't even been felt yet. Again, the farmers are a prime example of this. So we're in for a rough year. 2027 might be better if we can leave now, but 2026 is mostly shot. From a consumer standpoint, especially. He's doing the same thing Obama did. Should Trump supporters call him a loser? Trump is definitely losing right now. Yeah, without a doubt. Trump is a crusty-ass boomer. That is for sure, for Google's sake. Don't get me started on the ageism rant because I'll go there. We need to stop voting in 80-year-old presidents. I want to see a young, strapping 35 to 50-year-old lad as president of this country next. You know what I mean? And it's like, you think about it, it's probably going to be Vance versus Newsom. So either way, I guess, on the category of age, we'll probably actually get that wish. But yeah, we got to stop with the 80-year-olds, dude. Like, Biden trips upstairs and wanders off into the woods. Like, falls off his bike, doesn't sign his own bills, you know, and then Trump's like on TV right now telling school children that they would have been blown up by by Iran in the next 2 weeks. And, you know, he says, open the strait, you fucking crazy bastards. Praise be to Allah. It will be power plant day. He says that on Easter and never even talks or acknowledges the Christians. Like, Trump definitely has a form of dementia, in my opinion, now. It's not the same as Biden's. Biden's was more debilitating, I think, cognitively. But Trump's is like the behavioral inhibitor dementia. It was like he's already not politically correct, and that's part of what Trump's charm was. Liberals, if they're in chat, won't understand that. But a lot of conservatives, men especially, are like, you know, just say what the fuck you want to say. I don't care if it's offensive. So that was Trump's charm initially, but now it's really bad. Like, it's not, this just happens with age, but it's definitely a dementia-like effect. And so it's all bad. And either way, dementia or otherwise, 80-year-olds aren't in touch with the youth. They don't know what the cultural and societal issues are. They have no clue. And that's really a problem, too. I don't want to rant on it, though. I want to get back on track here. Lifeguard says there's not one triple digit in this entire chat tonight except Howard. Oh, Howard's in here? Howard's our resident boomer, but he's really fucking cool. Lifelong Army serviceman. Hey, the literate Christian's here. I recognize you. Oh, there's Howard Clegg. Yeah, good to see you back here, Howard Clegg. Good to see you back here. All right. Let's get back into this, though. So I want to finish up this show by acknowledging what Trump's expectations are and how that's going to be the problem still. So he's using verbiage now like final and complete deal and whatnot, which is a great sign. And I just explained a few moments ago all of the constraints working against Trump and ultimately how that water has hit the boiling point a while ago. And now it's going to come to a simmer, I think. And probably we're on the verge of a deal, thankfully. But there's something working against all of this still, and that is Trump's negotiations and expectations. I've covered at length the issues. Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff are the team. They're the diplomatic negotiating team. They're Jewish Zionists that go negotiate with Muslims, Muslim zealots. So already a conflict of interest. No wonder why we haven't had peace. But beyond that, it all comes from the top down. And with President Donald Trump, his expectations of negotiations are sky high, and in my opinion, at this point, unrealistic, sadly. I want his expectations to be realistic as an American, but they're just not. Iran has leverage, and Trump doesn't want to recognize it. And Iran won't agree to our terms as a result. Our terms are essentially unconditional surrender. Giving up all the enriched uranium, only enriching uranium in the future to 3.67%, pausing their nuclear facility program for 20 years, decommissioning all of their ballistic missiles and only maintaining a minimum stockpile of them. And then also, of course, we had to add on to the list the Strait of Hormuz now has to be opened and free for all to pass through it. Well, Iran has demonstrated actually they're willing to make some compromises. We've seen them their official statements say that they'll agree to the 3.6% enriched uranium going forward, but they won't agree to turn over what they have enriched. They consider it as sacred as their soil. We've seen them agree to put a pause on their nuclear facility program, but they only agreed to 5 years instead of 20. And that's where we're at on that. Trump turned all of that down, by the way. And most importantly now, actually, weirdly enough, you would if you listen to Trump, you would think it's all about nukes. But truthfully, the biggest issue, in my opinion, and I did a full episode why, again, I broke it down, this Strait of Hormuz being locked up is actually rivaling Iran having nukes as being the biggest problem. And I won't break it down in like 30 minutes like I did prior, but I'll quickly say the Pax Americana is at stake. The UN treaties signed post-World War II that involve all international waterways being open and free for all to pass through is at jeopardy. It's at stake. And that's a big problem because our Navy was beefed up intentionally post-World War II to enforce that. That's the Pax Americana. Our Navy keeps international waterways free and safe for all under threat of our Navy's action. And if we lose this right here in the Strait of Hormuz, other countries look around and they realize maybe I can just start charging a toll in my international waterway. We have the Strait of Gibraltar. We have the Strait of Malacca in Indonesia. We have the famous straits up in Turkey. One of those straits, by the way, the charging of toll of it was responsible for producing one of the wealthiest cities on earth at the time, Constantinople. This is nothing new in the world. It's just a modern development that these straits were free. Previously, they were filled with pirates or other nations' navies charging tolls and enforcing them. And so other countries, if Iran is permitted to get away with that, other countries might very likely just look around and say, well, shit, we'll do the same then. We can make money too. And then what? It's all gone. And the global economy boomed since World War II as a result of these international waterways being safe and protected by our Navy. Right now, every action Trump seems to be taking in this region is damaging our credibility and reputation. And if ultimately, again, we leave this region with Iran controlling it and tolling it, it's over. It's the beginning of the end. Our global hegemony is so weakened at that point that the Pax Americana is gone. That means the global economy slows down infinitely so, when all of a sudden all these ships now have to pay tolls. Understanding, of course, some of these ships will be paying multiple tolls just to transport cargo or oil. So that's a big problem. And that is the issue, by the way. Iran was willing to compromise on the nuclear facility program. Trump still turned it down anyway. Iran was willing to compromise on enriched uranium. Trump still turned that down anyway. And it's all because Iran is not willing thus far to compromise on the Strait of Hormuz now. And they vowed that from week one. I reported it here. You heard it here first live. Again, why you should subscribe right now to this channel. I reported on that when they announced it. They made their official statement that no matter what the USA decides to do now after hitting Tehran, that the IRGC will seek to control the Strait of Hormuz, charge a toll, and not give it up. They vowed that week one, and thus far in negotiations, they have followed through on that promise, refusing to give up the idea, especially because the genie's out of the bottle, because they've already successfully charged tolls on some ships, and they've already seen that they can make money, and they've proven that it is an effective strategy. They've proven it's concept proof. It worked already. And I've broke down the numbers in the past. $2 million per ship at a median rate of 100 ships passing through the strait per day will likely generate about $100 billion extra per year for Iran. That's 3 times the amount of money currently that they spend on their military budgets. So it's a big deal, and that's the main reason. That's the main holdup here. And Trump leaving this region within in their control still is a massive, obvious global loss for the United States. And we're running out of time is now the issue. And that's why it's going to be very interesting to see all the developments that take place in the next couple of days, because Pete Hegseth was forced in his address today, actually, to admit even that we've gotten basically nothing from Iran. Actually, I think I have that clip pulled up. Yeah, here we go. Journalist corners Secretary of War Hegseth live on TV. Yeah. So take a listen to this.
Don't obscure, I think, a central default that has occurred here, and I would like you both to address it. On the first day of this conflict, President Trump addressed the Iranian people directly and said, when we're finished, take over your government. It'll be yours to take. And then on the 7th day of the conflict, in a Truth Social post, the president said, quote, there will be no deal with Iran except, all caps, exclamation mark, unconditional surrender. What happens to that pledge to the Iranians? And when did the president decide to capitulate on his demand for unconditional surrender?
Well, James, I wouldn't, you started out nicely, but you ended exactly where we knew you would end. The president hasn't capitulated on anything. He holds the cards, we maintain the upper hand, and Project Freedom only strengthens that hand. And so he will ensure that whatever deal is made or whatever end state is reached creates ensuring that Iran never has a nuclear weapon, which is number one, and he's been focused on that, and the deal and discussions are centered on that. And what the Iranian people take advantage of after the fact is up to them, and he's been very clear about that. And maybe you do it now, maybe it happens later, but ultimately he's also been clear, we're not going to entangle this into some nation-building project. Our objectives are clear. They've been pursued from day one. Hopefully the Iranian people take advantage of that.
That is the one thing you can give him credit on. Trump floated the idea of Persian liberation, but he hadn't been adamant about it, thank God. Otherwise, though, it's been a disaster, and that question highlights that, and it reminds us that, yes, Trump directly stated on his Truth Social that only unconditional surrender would be appropriate and for Iran to offer to us. The only thing we would accept. That very obviously won't be the case now. We very obviously are working towards some sort of a deal with actual negotiations taking place. And that is because, like I've been saying on this channel all along, Welcome to reality, MAGA cheerleader chuds. I've been saying all along, not because I want to say this, I want to be reporting the opposite in a happy sunshine fantasy world, but I give you the truth. Iran maybe doesn't have as much leverage technically, because if we sustain this for years, we crush Iran technically. But we can't do that, and that's the problem, and Iran knows it. Iran has leverage. Maybe not as much as we do, but more than enough to get outcomes in their favor to occur during negotiations. This has been obvious. They're proving it right now. They took out another cargo ship that I reported on at the beginning of this show, a French one. They can still strike. We're told their military's decimated. They just took out 4 ships in 48 hours. They struck Fujairah and took out the oil industry there. Their military's not decimated. They've been strategically implementing it and using it when it was advantageous for them to do so. They had just sent over the weekend 70 speedboats right up here to lay even more mines down in the Strait of Hormuz. They have mini subs in the strait patrolling it. They have more drones, ballistic missiles, factories we haven't been able to destroy. We haven't even gotten their enriched uranium. We haven't even gotten them to agree to pause their nuclear facility program. The best we've been able to do is to get them to compromise, and Trump turned that down when they did. So unconditional surrender, not happening. There's no reason for them to unconditionally surrender. I said that from the start on this channel, and I'm going to wind up being validated in my opinions and predictions and vindicated as always. And again, that's why you should subscribe right now. Literally subscribe. You're stupid. You need to be watching a channel like this. It will make you smarter, and then you can talk about stuff with actual good opinions to your even dumber friends, and you'll quickly, as a result of watching this channel, rise up in your friend circle as the least dumb goyim. So subscribe right now. Like the stream if you haven't already, by the way. It's free to do. Most of you can't afford to pay your tariffs down below in the form of a super chat, but likes are free. So put your fat thumbs on your phone screens and double tap them. It'll be the most exercise you've probably got all day. But do it. It helps the channel. Also, I wanted to point this out here. So that's Pete Hegseth there, kind of coping with it. Oh, the president didn't capitulate. Well, the copium gets even thicker with MAGA. We have Gunther Eagleman here on X, and he goes, Jesse Waters gets it. The president must know what he's doing. Trump is pausing Project Freedom, not because he's weak, but because he's smart. He's giving the mullahs one last offer. I can't even read it seriously. One last off-ramp, the mullahs, one last off. He's giving Iran one last off-ramp so they can surrender without being completely humiliated and backed into a corner. I'm sorry, who took out 4 ships in the last 48 hours again? Who struck Fujairah? Who's controlled the Strait of Hormuz the whole time? Maximum pressure with a clear exit. Classic Trump deal-making.
Fox News alert, the president says, based on the request of Pakistan and other countries, we have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not the agreement can be finalized and signed. We suspect the president is letting the Iranians save face. The enemy just yesterday said they controlled the strait. That was obviously a lie.
Okay, you're right. So I also wanted to point this out too. I find it even funnier that Pakistan has been the country here cited as a reason why for multiple of these concessions that Trump has made. So if you remember correctly, we originally went for this 2-week ceasefire that has now turned into an indefinite one because of Pakistan. Trump said, well, he's a great friend of mine. The president of Pakistan, he begged me. He said, sir, please, you gotta give Iran a chance. You gotta do a ceasefire, sir. They've had enough. They're begging for a deal, sir. Please give them a ceasefire. And so I did. I gave him a ceasefire, a 2-week ceasefire. That was not true. We actually saw the screenshot from the president of Pakistan. He screenshotted the email that was created for him from Washington, D.C., and then sent to him. Essentially, the statement that he should make was sent to him from Washington, and he lazily screenshotted it and posted it. You could see it in the email. It was from here. He was told to ask for that, and then Trump jumped at it, of course, publicly. It's all perception. Perception is reality. It's the game always being played in politics. But it is funny because it's like that is just the cover-up for concessions from America and from Trump, and it pains me to say that as an American nationalist. I hate that we're in this situation, but it's true. So it was Pakistan then it's the indefinite ceasefire extension, Pakistan again, then there's the negotiations in Pakistan, and now it's,
Well, Pakistan said, sir, you don't even need to do Operation Freedom. Of course, it's a total success already, sir, even though it hasn't started.
literally Pete Hegseth said it was a military success. It didn't even start, nothing happened.
It was a military success, though, but they said, sir, even though it's going so tremendously, you haven't gotten any ships out yet, but it's going to be hundreds you let out so soon, sir. Nobody's ever seen anything like it, but sir, please pause it, sir. And so I agreed because he's one of my best friends. I met him just a few weeks ago, but he's one of my best friends. I feel like I owe him. So no Operation Freedom.
All because of Pakistan. You see how Pakistan's being used? It's perception. It's a game of perception. That's all. So I found that funny that it's Pakistan once again. Pakistan just seems to have this incredible influence, unlike any other country I could think of, over the president. But thank God for Pakistan. And then finally, I wanted to play this. This is how Ben Shapiro's handling this one.
The easiest move for the United States to make right now would be to just blow up Kharg Island. Kharg Island, you could do an amphibious operation there. It's a lot riskier. Or you could just blow it up. And that means that Iran has no refinery capacity. And that means their economy is basically sunk for the foreseeable future, which means the regime has no money to pay its own people.
Yeah, blow up Kharg Island. What a great idea. And not surprising, of course, that that's the recommended strategy there. Blow up Kharg Island. What a great idea. Okay. All right. So that's where we're at on that. But regardless, finally, I just wanted to go over Iran has come out with an official statement not too long ago here, just about 3 hours ago, stating from Iranian officials that Trump's post is riddled with falsehoods about Project Freedom being paused. And they've stated, no, Project Freedom failed completely. And the official from Iran went on to state that negotiations will not take place until the U.S. has formally ended the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. So that's currently where we're at on all of that. The time constraints are catching up to Trump very quickly. We're running out of time. And there's just a few short days left, really, in my opinion, before we'll probably, hopefully, this is a prediction. I might be wrong on this because subconsciously I want this to end. But I think we're more on the verge of seeing a deal now than we have been in days past. And I think that's because the time constraints are all catching up pretty much all at the same time. Oil reserves are going to be depleted in less than 2 weeks. Well, less than 4 weeks, but they're going to be bad in less than 2 weeks now. You know, we're getting closer to midterms, et cetera, et cetera. Trump just can't. Our munitions are running low. The global economy is suffering. Trump can't keep this up much longer. And Iran has been waiting this out, and rightfully so, from a strategic standpoint, and that's where we're at. So I expect the deal to be made probably, I don't know, maybe in the next week or two. You know, Trump's going to still try to play hardball. We're going to go through the pains of negotiations, but it does seem like something's going to happen if we can negotiate in good faith with Iran. And so now they're saying the blockade has to be removed. I originally said that Trump not removing the blockade for negotiations to take place was a strategical error. So he should just remove it at this point on the condition that Iran opens up the strait for free completely during negotiations at least. If those two conditions can be met, then it should be just reopened at this point for the sake of the global economy. But yeah, that's where we're at on that. And time's running out. So I think we're on the verge of a deal, and that is good news. Just for the long term, that's good news. It's going to be pretty painful in the short term for America, though, in my opinion, sadly. But otherwise, that's all I've really got to say about that. He's trying to put the Obama deal back on the table. We'll see. Bro, have a good day, bro. Your Trump is funny as fuck, says George Newell. Appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah, Israel are no saints in this ordeal whatsoever. The U.S. economy is high on the petrodollar, the literate Christian. That's another problem. That just continues to be jeopardized and put at stake, and not good. Very, very not good. And truthfully, it's really not. Iran has every right to develop nuclear weapons. Well, be that as that may, I certainly wouldn't. We shouldn't be striving for Iran to develop nuclear weapons. I don't want to see any country moving forward on nuclear weapons. We do want denuclearization to be a thoroughly practiced kind of situation across the world here. We don't want countries developing them, definitely not Iran. So that part I can't get on board with entirely. We own all the gas. It'll be $1.50 a gallon. When? In 2028? Yeah, literate Christian. So he did impose the fatwa on developing nuclear warheads, and it seems like that upheld. We can't find evidence of nuclear warheads actually being developed. Now, they did enrich their uranium well above 3.67%, which is what was making us nervous. But I just wish we would have tried to go the diplomacy negotiation route with them first, and tried to work out something with them rather than just allowing Israel to seize the moment and use us as their pawns to wage their war against Iran. The fatwa, can you trust Iran? I certainly wouldn't, but the fatwa seems to have upheld. People are still thinking, actually, that because of that fatwa that's imposed, that even now Iran isn't working towards a nuke. Many people are hypothesizing that within just 2 to 12 months, if they wanted, Iran could have nuclear weapons. But they don't have them, as far as we can tell. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. Because if anything, if it weren't for their religion and if it weren't for their fatwa, Iran would be more incentivized than ever right now, being attacked like this, to push forward for nukes faster. So if in a year from now they still don't have nukes, then you know that they take the fatwa seriously and they take their religion that serious. So we'll wait and see, really. You might not be as bright as you like to think you are, says Rob Green. Oh, wow. What's it called? Accusing me of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Okay. They will beg for surrender after 25 years in Afghanistan and still losing is fucking wild. Yeah, they're not going to beg for surrender. We didn't get that anywhere. They just hide. The region is cursed. It's doomed. There's no reason. There's no reason to be there. Colonel McGregor is smarter than you. Who's Colonel McGregor exactly? Should I know who that is? Is he in chat? Let me see. So basically what you are saying is Donald Trump is full of shit. Oftentimes. TDS about, I have TDS. I voted for Trump. So you're pro-Islamic State, anti-Persians? Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Idiots. Fucking morons. I'm worried Netanyahu will resort to the Samson option and use Israel's nuclear missiles. Well, their Samson option is only supposed to be if they feel like their back's up against the wall and they're being attacked and it's hopeless. It's basically them going out in a blaze of glory. And that's certainly not happening right now, so I doubt that that'll happen. I'd be more worried about a false flag event occurring, actually, that basically is used as the ultimate reason for us to go to full-fledged war with Iran. That's actually what if I'm being honest with you, that is what I'm actually most afraid of. And I don't mean a false flag event in the Middle East where it's like a tit for tat. They hit our ship, we strike them back. I mean like something devastating in the American mainland that's unforgivable from a straight up perception standpoint, kind of like 9/11, and then boom, it's it. We're cooked. That's my biggest fear. The only reason to open up the blockade is for the global interest. We get very little oil at all from that part of the world anymore. Yeah, but that's too simplistic to view it. Yes, we only get 5 to 10% of our oil from that region, but all of our allies are dependent on that region firstly, which means we have to dip into the global oil reserves, which affects the oil futures, which raises gas prices. And then on top of it, when the global oil reserves start drying up, we produce a lot of oil ourselves, but then we start selling that like we're doing. Trump brags, I already explained this, but Trump brags about selling the oil, and all the MAGA cheerleader chuds, they say, see, look at how much this is helping our economy. Where? Is it our prices will notice that? Or is it from our gas prices? Is it our consumer grocery store prices? Food? Gas? Where's our economy benefiting from this? Where is the average American benefiting from us selling oil now to other countries that are desperate for it since the Strait is closed? We're not going to feel that ever. The oil execs in this country, the oil executives that sell it, are going to get rich. The stock market centered around those oil companies are going to go up. The wealthy Americans invested in those oil companies will get richer. Everyone else won't experience that at all. And that's because we're giving away more of our oil, we're selling it, more of our oil supply, which increases demand and raises prices. So it actually hurts Americans. So ridiculous. Nice stream, bro. Nice to see someone with common sense on one of these things, says Joe Kuvorkian. Thank you, man. Subscribe right now if you haven't already. I appreciate that a lot. Be sure to turn on post notifications. All of you should subscribe right now and turn on post notifications so you're notified every time I go live, which is every night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, oftentimes an hour later. But yeah, like the stream too if you haven't already. Double tap those phone screens. Free and easy to do. There's no excuse to not like the stream other than you just being completely fucking pathetic. Amazing how who talk for a living think they can give what? With sentence structure like that, you should probably just be deported. Well, ally with Russia. We can dream, literate Christian. We can dream. We could end up in another war, and the maggots will still think Trump was great. Yeah. Hey, Joel, I'm a conservative, by the way. I just want to fairly point that out. Like, I'm literally conservative, but I'm just not a fucking cultist idiot. I understand what's happening here, you know? Like, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to defend the president. I'm not loyal to a president or any one man. I'm loyal to my country and to my fellow Americans. I want what's best for us. And this war is not it. Gas rations in the U.S. soon? No, I don't think that'll happen for us. But in other countries, yeah, probably. We're going to be more insulated from this than a lot of countries will be. We'll feel the effects. It'll be painful, but we are going to be a little bit more insulated. That much is true. Like, there's very likely going to be famines this year, but that won't happen to us the same way. Our cost of living will go up a bit this year. Our prices will inflate. Our gas will go up. But gas rations, I think, are pretty unlikely for us. And famines are not, you know, we won't have that issue. But certainly a lot of these allies are going to be giving us the middle finger because they're going to be going through that. If this continues, this needs to end soon is the point. It's already going to have lasting bad effects, but if it continues, it does just continue to get worse. And I projected this, you know, if this goes on into June, we could see $200 a barrel for oil. And that would mean like $7 a gallon gas national average. Because again, by June, our oil reserves are dried up. And then there's nothing Trump can do on social media to gaslight the investors and traders, the commodity traders. The reality is the oil's gone, and then it's $200 a barrel. Then it's $7 a gallon national average. So probably they're already rationing in fuel in Sri Lanka, Thailand, and the Philippines. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I didn't hear that, but I wouldn't doubt it. You know, Australia is moving that direction soon too, so. We have low-income communities that are affected. Yeah, maybe. There's no reason we can't unite. There's just certain hard lines. There are. And you know what? I'm never willing to budge on my hard lines. I'm socially and fiscally conservative. So we got to go to war with each other eventually. But there are obvious issues with our own political system right now. And we got to solve those. We got to get rid of the foreign influence in our government and all the big donor money. And then we can talk about social issues like feminism, abortion. You know, like these are important to me, obviously, as a conservative, but there's something that's hindering all of us right now. And I think we all know what that is. I think most of us, especially if you've been watching the entire show or it's not your first time tuning in, I think we all know what the major issues are in our political system and why neither side represents their own voters anymore. I think we all know, you know, and the fire is rising. A movement is being born right now, especially with the youth. Especially with Gen Z and with a good chunk of millennials and even some Gen Xers. So if you're a conservative, I'm Mickey Mouse. Well, hello, Mickey Mouse. Yeah, I'm super conservative. You haven't talked about immigration. That's why you're having a hard time with this. Because in your puny pea-brained mind, I'm criticizing your Lord and Savior Donald Trump. I'm not part of the cult. I'm not. How dare I be a panican unloyal to Trump? How dare I criticize this quagmire war? Yeah, that's how you know you're part of a cult. You can't handle criticism from within your own party. That's a big issue. You got to get that solved. I've got stones. Not only do you have to get it solved, but it's actually more important that you criticize the people you vote into office. You should hold them to the highest standard. It's going to affect his golf courses soon because they constantly need fertilizer to feed. Well, but yeah, I don't think that's true though, because the fertilizer issues are going to affect farmers because they can't afford it. They have massive fields. Trump is so rich that he'll pay more, but he can afford it. The real issue is it's the poor farmers that they have just enough to get started every season to turn over a really good profit in the fall. And our fertilizer supply was down 75% below typical levels this year because of the Strait of Hormuz being closed off. And fertilizer prices are up on average 30 to 50%. So farmers are already reporting they had to buy less fertilizer which means less crops being grown. And that's really the problem. Thank you for the token gift, Angelo. Angio. Thank you for that. Appreciate you for the gold coin. You are also using Dem words like quagmire. Well, thank you for the tone policing there, I've got stones. I'm starting to think you're the liberal, actually, if you're going to sit here in my chat and tell me what words I can or cannot use. I didn't know I wasn't allowed to use the word quagmire. I didn't know that made me a liberal. I didn't know that people got so offended by that word. I am so sorry. Wow, I didn't mean to offend you there. You're the one sounding like liberal now. I can't believe you'd say quagmire. That's a no-no word. God, cry me a river. So pathetic. I don't know what it is, but have one. Thank you, Ann. Yeah, to be honest with you, even as a streamer, I'm not sure. I know it's something of some sort of monetary value. So, something like that. I'll have to look that up because I've been receiving them all stream long. It's not like super chat straight money, but it's something beneficial that I get to use as a creator. So I appreciate you. I'm sure I'll appreciate you more when I figure out exactly what it does. But thank you nonetheless. You just come off as a fraud. The ad hominem attacks when you've run out of logical arguments. Good one. That makes you sound like even more of a liberal. It's refreshing to see a rational conservative. Thank you. I appreciate that, Andre. You know, in all honesty, it's just not being a part of the cult. You know what I mean? Like MAGA was a coalition in 2015. It was a coalition of moderates, even a few Democrats, and Republicans who recognized that the Republican side of the aisle needed extreme reform. We need to eliminate all of the evil neoconservative nonsense and the corruption. And hey, Democrats and their stupid, they have so many issues as well. Don't even get me started. But that's what MAGA was originally supposed to be, and that just didn't last long. Even in his first term, we saw a lot of shades of dissent with the coalition, and a lot of nonsense occur. And it's just become super obvious this term. All that money, Miriam Adelson and her $200-something million donation to Trump. It's just like all of this is so obvious at this point. It's gross. And Trump has turned into what we voted for him to not be. And anybody sitting here trying to say otherwise is so full of copium. I wish copium right now was being restricted in the Strait of Hormuz with helium. Sadly, it's not. Sadly, it seems to be an airborne disease, and it spreads on everybody in disbelief who doesn't want to wake up to reality. But that's what it is. This is literally what we voted to not happen. It was the one thing that even Democrats would have had to admit if it didn't happen. That was the one thing, as a Republican, I can say. When Trump said, "I'm the president of peace," it was like, yeah, in his first term. Now what? This is a fiasco. It's an absolute fiasco. It's a quagmire. What's their name again? I've got stones. How dare you? A quagmire. It's a quagmire. It's so pathetic. This should have never happened. I voted for this to not happen, and this was the final straw for me. If you go back on my channel, I was praising Trump a lot, and I created this channel last March. First few months, I was like, yeah, I like what he's doing. Over time, you'll see, though, it's like, well, what the fuck's going on with this Epstein file stuff? I started saying stuff like, this is a disaster. And then I was like, well, where are the deep state arrests? We got nothing. Don Lemon got arrested. And then in fall time, you can just see, it was like, you know what? I'm getting more fed up with shit. Things aren't getting done. And then the breaking point for me, honestly, I moved away from my Israel neutral stance, and I moved away all of my support from Trump. As soon as this war started, I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm throwing in the fucking towel. It's over with. Fuck this administration. It's a complete forfeiture of their mandate. They could be focusing on so many economic issues. They could be doing things that benefit Americans so well that Republicans would maintain control and power for the next 20 years. And they threw it all away for this bullshit. And now, rightfully, they're going to get slaughtered in the midterms. And I'm going to be here live on this channel to smile as the blue wave is ushered in. I promise you that. And again, Republicans, I've got stones around. I can't believe you'd say that. Yeah, fuck you. Fuck all of these neocons. I want them gone in the midterms of 2026. Gone. Get them out of here. Get them out. Clean the party up. So, but that's where I stand as a conservative. Ever wonder what's really going on? This war in Iran could be a distraction to something worse. Yeah, it's called the Greater Israel Project. It's called Israel invading South Lebanon and taking more land and openly saying that they're going to treat South Lebanon the same way they treat Gaza, which means, of course, borderline genocide, as well as just destruction of cities, leveling of entire city blocks, houses, hotels, apartment buildings, schools, churches, bulldoze all of it down. Bomb it first, comb through it with IDF second, then bulldoze all of it, and then establish a new yellow line, they call it, and say, well, we need to keep this to prevent it from falling into the hands of Hezbollah. It'll be a new protection barrier for future strikes from Hezbollah on Israel. And, oh, by the way, we're never giving it back up. No, you Lebanese can't move back here. This is Israel now. That's what's actually happening. People who say it's a cover-up for the Epstein files don't know what they're talking about. I know people want to believe that, and I'll tell you right out, of course the other half of the Epstein files is being covered up, but Trump didn't need to go to war to cover that up. Trump could have just never released it, and there's nothing you goy scum can do about that in the chats, myself included. I want the other half released. He can just never release it, and there's nothing we can do about it. This is not a cover-up to distract us from that. This is a cover-up for Israel and the Greater Israel Project. It's also a cover-up, of course, for the Rothschild central banking system, because which three countries, four maybe, out there, actually, now that I think about North Korea, I think, which countries out there do you think don't have one of those banks yet? Iran. So that's going on. Greater Israel's going on. And truthfully, that's what's at stake here. The elites are getting richer. It is a massive shift. The money is moving from the poor to the rich. That's what's happening. Yeah, Tucker Carlson must be my source. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I have CIA sources. Yeah, right. That's what that is. No, it's called it's literally called Go Watch the Foreign News. Israel talks about this stuff openly. It's part of their government policy. They don't even hide it on their own news because they know you stupid scum, you stupid pleb scum will never go and watch their news or read their articles like I do. And for those of us that do, well, I get called the conspiracy theorist. That term is a conspiracy itself, by the way. But I get called that, and it actually helps them out because it makes you idiots feel more sympathetic to them. I can't believe this is happening in our own country. Don't people know about 1930s Germany? You don't even know about that time period, you idiot. You've never even read the actual history of the Weimar period. None of it. I could just keep going on. I won't get lost in the rant, but it is honestly ridiculous. I don't watch the news, period. That's probably for the best, actually. You probably live a very peaceful life. I started watching the news the past year, and I've been aging rapidly. I have a whole playlist devoted to Dearborn, Michigan. I've got stones. What the fuck do you think this is? You think I'm some Muslim sympathizer? Get them all out. I just don't want Israeli influence in my politics. That's the real issue. The Muslims are they're the broomstick of Israel. And if you don't understand that, you don't understand the way the world works. You don't even know what the immigration policy, why Europe's being flooded right now. You have no clue. You literally you don't even know. And you're never going to know because you don't want to know. And you know what? Fair enough. Fair enough. Ignorance is bliss. I am cursed with knowledge. It is an actual curse. Operation Mockingbird. Look it up. Don't tell them look it up, literal Christian. Listen, they're better off not knowing. Let the goy be goy. Let them live their delusional lives for as long as they can. It's honestly better. For most of them, it's better. You try to red pill some of these people and they'll have a mental breakdown. We don't need more future patsies rising up and being used. It's better to just let them live in bliss. That's all I've got to say, though, guys. Thanks for everybody who tuned in today. I appreciate all of you guys. Again, be sure to subscribe right now to American Advocates, especially if you're stupid, especially if you have a 90 IQ. You need to be watching this channel. It will save you from embarrassment in your everyday life and significantly make you smarter. Share this channel with an even dumber friend of yours who needs to see this information. I'm sure most of you have really retarded friends out there that need a channel like this in their lives. So share it. Like the stream if you haven't already. And, of course, be sure to check out this video right here. I'm going to share it right now. This is a video explaining why Iran, even though they deny it, very likely, why they struck Fujairah, what their strategy is there, why they were incentivized to do that. Got the link right here. Check that out right now. Go watch it. If you support the channel, give me a full watch time on it. Watch the whole video to completion. Leave a like on the video and comment down below on it. And tell me what you think about all of that. Appreciate all of you guys as usual. Thanks to my super chatters, as always, the gift givers. Glory to America, the best country in the world, still by far. Wouldn't want to live anywhere else. May God bless Trump. May God bless Trump with wisdom, much needed wisdom to get this situation resolved so we can get out of that cursed region where all great empires go to die and go back to focusing on the problems here in this country. So may God bless Trump. May God bless him with wisdom. May God bless all of you with safety, security, and prosperity. May God bless this country. God bless the USA. Glory to America, all of that. Best country by far. I am a nationalist. I love this country. That'll never change. And God bless all of you. Have a great rest of your evening. I'll be back here live tomorrow, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, or maybe an hour late. Give me a break. I got a real life to live, okay? But either way, be on the lookout for it. Subscribe and turn on post notifications. Take care, guys. Have a good evening. Go watch that video. I'll share the link once again. Go click on this video right now if you support the channel. Trying to get those long forms up and running. The YouTube algo thinks I'm a live stream channel. It doesn't push my long forms as much. Help me out there if you support the channel. Otherwise, take care. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.